Is your heating bill about to double? The answer might shock you, and it is happening within the next 10 days. Right now, across the Atlantic, something extraordinary is unfolding in the stratosphere, 20 miles above our heads. Scientists are watching closely. Weather models are flashing warnings. And here is what nobody is telling you. The pattern developing this week could transform February into one of the most disruptive months we have seen in years. But first, let me show you exactly what is heading toward your doorstep within the next 48 hours. Because before we talk about that potential Arctic blast, you need to prepare for the immediate threat. Monday morning started grey across most of England and Wales. Nothing unusual there. But look closely at Northern Ireland and southwest England. A band of rain is moving in right now, and this is not your typical drizzle. The Met Office has issued the first rain warning of the week for Northern Ireland. Disruption is expected through the afternoon. Temperatures? Around seasonal average, maybe just slightly below in the north. Southwest regions creeping up to 9, possibly even 10 degrees Celsius. Here is where it gets interesting. Comment below where you live in the UK, and I will tell you exactly what to expect in your area over the coming days. As Monday evening arrives, that rain band pushes eastward. Southwest England and South Wales turn widely wet. Then watch what happens. A heavier band of rain sweeps across the south. The Met Office issues another weather warning, this time for southwest England, South Wales, and southeast England, coming into force in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Tuesday begins with a very wet start. Everywhere sees some sort of rain. Northern Ireland gets another warning. But here is the twist. Temperatures stay around seasonal average, maybe even a nudge above what we would normally expect overnight. Mid-single figures across the board. Now pay attention to Tuesday morning because this is where the wind becomes the real story. That rain continues through much of the morning, pushing northward. But winds coming in from the south and southwest, they are going to be strong. 50, possibly even 60 miles per hour on exposed coasts, especially across southwest Wales and Northern Ireland. Imagine standing on the Pembrokeshire coast Tuesday afternoon. The wind is howling at 60 miles per hour. Rain is hammering down. This is not weather you want to be caught out in. By late Tuesday afternoon, we might see clearer skies toward the south, across Wales and central England. But showers keep coming in off that southwesterly wind. Up north, rain could turn to snow across higher hills, mostly across the Pennines and the highest peaks of Scotland. Otherwise, pretty damp everywhere. Temperatures across the north stay around seasonal average, but that strong southwesterly wind draws up milder air from the south. More widely, we are looking at 9, possibly even 10 degrees Celsius. But with that wind chill, especially where winds are strongest across the southwest, it will feel rather chilly. The middle of the week brings a bit of brightness. Some outbreaks of rain, yes, but not the relentless downpours of Tuesday. Now, here is what I promised you at the beginning, the really shocking part. The part that could affect your entire February. Deep in the stratosphere, something called a sudden stratospheric warming event is potentially developing. Stay with me here, because this is absolutely crucial to understanding what might be coming. Picture the polar vortex like a massive spinning top of cold air sitting above the North Pole, 20 miles up in the stratosphere. Normally it spins strongly, keeping cold Arctic air locked up in the polar regions. When it is strong and intact, we in the UK get mild, wet, windy weather from the Atlantic. That is our normal winter pattern. But right now, pools of warmer air are pushing against that polar vortex from both sides. They are putting pressure on it. And if they push hard enough, something dramatic happens. The vortex splits. One lobe gets shoved toward Alaska. Another lobe gets pushed towards Siberia. And that cold air, it comes flooding south, right toward us. The latest model data shows this split potentially happening around the 8th of February. If it does, there is typically a lag time of 10 to 14 days before we feel the impacts at ground level. That means around the 20th of February onward, we could be looking at significantly colder weather. How cold are we talking? The GFS American model is showing bitterly cold air plunging through the north and northeast of the UK. Some runs show widespread snow events for northern Scotland and central southern England. Canadian model data shows similar trends. The European model, the ECMWF, is also hinting at proper northeasterly airflow by day 9 and 10. Here is the critical detail that makes this more than just speculation. The zonal winds in the stratosphere, those are the winds that normally blow from west to east, keeping our mild Atlantic weather pattern in place. They are weakening. The average is dropping down to around 6 meters per second. Recent model runs show a 48% chance of reversal. That is up from 25% just days ago. When zonal winds reverse, when they drop below zero and start blowing from east to west instead, that is when blocking patterns develop. High pressure builds over Scandinavia, low pressure systems get stuck out to the west, and the wind switches to easterly or northeasterly, dragging continental air across the UK. Let me break this down city by city because the impacts will not be uniform across the UK. London and the southeast. Through Tuesday, expect heavy rain and strong winds. 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts possible. By late next week, if the pattern shift occurs, you could see temperatures plummet. Snow is possible, especially if low pressure systems track along the south coast and bump into that cold air pushing down from the northeast. The most likely time frame is the first week of February. Birmingham and the West Midlands. The ensemble data specifically for Birmingham shows big uncertainty between the 31st of January and the 2nd of February. Some runs show very cold conditions. Others show average to above average temperatures. It is a big split. Nothing is nailed on beyond the 31st, but there is definitely a clustering of colder runs in the mix. Manchester and the northwest, heavy rainfall through Tuesday and Wednesday. Those southwesterly winds will be strong here too. Beyond that, if the blocking pattern develops, you are in line for cold northeasterly winds. Snow is more likely here than in the south, especially on higher ground. Leeds and Yorkshire. The Pennines could see snow as early as Tuesday when that rain band pushes north and encounters colder air over the hills. Later, if the easterly pattern establishes, you are in the direct firing line for Arctic air coming across the North Sea, Newcastle and the northeast. You might actually see the coldest conditions of anywhere in England if this pattern develops. Northeasterly winds straight off the North Sea with a long fetch across cold water. Wind chill will be brutal. Snow showers likely, especially near the coast. Glasgow and central Scotland. You will do quite well through the next few days. While England and Wales get hammered by rain and wind, Scotland sees more wintry weather on the higher ground. The Highlands and Scottish mountains always perform well in these scenarios. Later, if the cold pattern develops, you will see it too, but probably not as extreme as the northeast of England. Edinburgh, similar to Glasgow, some wintry weather on higher ground this week, watching the potential for colder conditions early February. Cardiff and South Wales, you are in the bullseye for Tuesday, heavy rain and very strong winds, 60 mile per hour gusts on exposed coasts. Weather warning in force. Take this seriously, secure loose objects, avoid unnecessary travel during the worst of it. Belfast and Northern Ireland. Weather warnings, Monday afternoon and continuing Tuesday. Disruption expected. Strong winds and heavy rainfall. The pattern later depends on how far south those low-pressure systems track. Now, here is what most weather forecasts will not tell you. The AI model, the ECMWF AI model, is showing something very different from the standard physics-based models. By day 5, it already has low-pressure systems tracking further southward. By day 6, we are back into a proper easterly wind pattern. Heights building to the north, winds from the east. This shows just how tentative this pattern is, how quickly it can change. One day we are looking at unsettled Atlantic weather. The next day, the models are showing Arctic air sinking southward and turning very cold by day 10 and beyond. Think about what this means practically. If you are planning travel in early February, you need to be watching this closely. If you have elderly relatives who might struggle in cold weather, now is the time to check in with them. If you have pipes that might freeze, consider insulation now, not when the cold arrives. The biggest uncertainty sits right between the 31st of January and the 2nd of February. Some model runs show very cold conditions developing then. Others show average or even above average temperatures. It is genuinely a coin flip at this stage, but here is what we know with higher confidence. The stratospheric warming signal is there. Multiple models are picking it up. The zonal winds are weakening. Blocking patterns are showing up in the extended range forecasts. Cold air is pooling over Eastern Europe. All the ingredients are present. Does this guarantee a major cold snap for the UK? No, weather is not that simple. Low pressure systems could continue to barrel in from the Atlantic, preventing that cold air from reaching us. The blocking high could set up in the wrong position. The stratospheric warming could fizzle out without affecting ground level weather. But the probability has definitely increased, and that 48% chance of zonal wind reversal, that is significant. That is worth paying attention to. Let me show you exactly what the worst case scenario looks like, because you deserve to know the full range of possibilities. Worst case, the stratospheric warming occurs as modeled. The polar vortex splits. Within 10 to 14 days, a large blocking high establishes over Scandinavia. Low pressure systems get stuck to our west. Easterly winds drag bitterly cold air across the UK. Temperatures plunge well below average. Snow becomes widespread, not just on hills, but at low levels too. This pattern persists for a week or more. Transport disruption, school closures, strain on the national grid during peak demand, vulnerable people at risk. Best case, the Atlantic stays active. Low pressure systems continue to move in from the west. Any blocking that tries to develop gets broken down quickly. We stay in a mild, wet, windy pattern. Perhaps some colder interludes, but nothing prolonged or severe. February ends up near average overall. Most likely case, something in between. A period of unsettled weather this week, as already forecast. Then a transition period around the start of February with high uncertainty. Possibly a cold spell in the first half of February, but probably not as extreme or long-lasting as the worst-case scenario. Second half of February, more interesting, with better potential for sustained cold if the stratospheric signal comes through. Here is what you should do right now. First, secure anything outside that could blow away in Tuesday-S winds. 60-mile-per-hour gusts will move garden furniture, bins, anything not tied down. Second, charge your devices Monday night. If there is disruption Tuesday, you want to stay informed. Third, check your heating system is working properly. Do not wait until you need it in a cold snap. Fourth, and this is important, stock up on essentials before the end of the month. Not panic buying, just sensible preparation. If we do get a significant snow event in early February, shops might struggle with deliveries. Having a few extra tins in the cupboard, some long life milk, basic medical supplies just makes sense. Fifth, know where your local weather warnings come from. The Met Office website is the official source. Social media can spread panic and misinformation quickly. Stick to reliable sources. Now, let me address something crucial. I am not trying to scare you. Fear is not helpful. What is helpful is being informed and prepared. The truth is, British weather is changeable. That is its nature. Sometimes that works in our favour. Sometimes it does not. What we are looking at here is a genuinely uncertain situation. The models are showing a range of outcomes. The atmospheric signals are mixed. We are in a pattern transition, and those are always the hardest to forecast with confidence. But here is what years of watching weather patterns has taught me. When multiple independent models start showing similar signals, even if they differ in details, that is worth noting. When stratospheric indicators start aligning with tropospheric patterns, that is worth noting. When ensemble spreads widen dramatically, showing both very cold and very mild solutions, that tells you we are at a decision point in the pattern. And we are at one of those decision points right now. The next 72 hours will be crucial. Watch how Tuesday's low pressure behaves. Does it track as far south as the models suggest? How quickly do we clear it? What happens to the heights building over Scandinavia? These will give us clues about what follows. By the weekend, we should have much better clarity on early February. The models will either start converging on a solution or they will remain split, telling us that uncertainty persists. Comment below your location in the UK. I want to hear from you. Are you in an area that typically gets hit hard by easterly winds? Are you somewhere that usually escapes the worst? What are your concerns about potential cold weather? What are you doing to prepare? This is not just about one cold spell. This is about understanding how our weather works, how these large-scale atmospheric patterns develop and influence what we experience at ground level. The stratosphere might be 20 miles up, but what happens there absolutely affects us down here. Think about it like this. The stratosphere is the puppet master. The weather we experience is the puppet. Most of the time, we just watch the puppet dancing around, rain one day, sun the next, never really thinking about what is controlling it. But occasionally, something dramatic happens up there in the puppet master-S realm. The strings get tangled. The performance changes completely. That might be what we are about to witness. I will be updating as new model data comes in. The 12 UTC runs, the midnight runs, these all give us fresh information. Sometimes they change dramatically from one run to the next. That is the nature of forecasting in uncertain patterns. But here is my commitment to you. I will not exaggerate. I will not catastrophize. I will give you the data, show you what the models are indicating, explain the atmospheric mechanics, and let you make informed decisions. Because at the end of the day, that is what matters. You need information you can trust. Information that helps you plan, information that respects your intelligence. So yes, your heating bill might be about to increase. If we get a sustained cold spell, energy usage goes up. That is just physics. Keeping a house at 18 degrees when it is -5 outside takes more energy than when it is +8 outside. But you will be prepared. You will have seen it coming. You will have made sensible provisions. And if it does not happen, if the Atlantic stays dominant and we stay mild, then you will have learned something about atmospheric dynamics. You will understand a bit more about how weather forecasting works at extended ranges. You will appreciate why meteorologists hedge their bets and talk in probabilities rather than certainties. Now, here is your teaser for what is coming next. Tomorrow, I will be diving deep into the regional impacts, city by city, county by county, exactly what each area should be watching for. I will also be analysing the latest model runs that come in overnight. The American GFS updates at midnight, the European model runs through the early hours. By morning, we will have fresh data. And here is the really exciting part. Around the 3-minute 20 mark of tomorrow's video, I will reveal which parts of the UK have the highest probability of significant snow if this pattern develops. The data might surprise you. It is not necessarily where you think. I will also be looking at historical analogues. Have we seen this kind of stratospheric setup before? What happened then? Can past patterns give us clues about what might unfold this time? The second half of February has a lot of interest to it, a lot of potential, both for cold weather enthusiasts and for people who need to plan around potential disruption. This is one of those moments where weather watching gets genuinely fascinating. We are watching the atmosphere make a decision in real time. Will it go one way or another? The signals are there, but the outcome is not yet determined. So stay tuned, keep watching, drop that comment with your location, and whatever you do, do not miss tomorrow's update. Because things are moving fast and you need to stay ahead of the curve, the question is not if the pattern will change. The pattern always changes. The question is when, how dramatically, and what impacts we will see at ground level. And over the next 10 days, we are going